red. I am blue. You are bright and shiny in my mind. You got me loving, hating, crazy indecision in my mind.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, where the focus is on deer hunting, tips, tricks, tactics, and stories from across the Midwest. And now, here is your host, Aaron Blicey.
Happy Monday, everybody, and we are back for another episode number 73 to be exact, and Justin is back in his home studio with me this week, coming back in the saddle, coming from Des Moines, Iowa. What's going on, man?
Des Moines. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore.
You sound depressed right now, and you shouldn't be depressed.
I'm not depressed. I just feel like it's crunch time. Like I'm doing a little painting at the house and trying to get some last minute things ordered for my Utah hunt. Getting some arrows built. Got a new string on my bow. Like I just feel like I'm running around like crazy right now, and just, you know, you get that mindset where you're just like, there's not enough time in the day, and it's only August 2nd. So.
Well, you know, and I kind of feel the same way because the other day, I actually got my Iowa tag, the physical tag.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've known that yeah. So you knew I drew Iowa.
Yeah, you sent me the snap when you got the tag the other day, and I forgot about it.
Yeah. But what was weird to me is when I actually opened it up and the tag was right there, I had this feeling come over my body, and it might sound really weird, but it was like, wow, it hit me. I am actually hunting Iowa this year.
You were like
the
Charlie,
first time ever,
like Charlie with the golden ticket going into the chocolate factory.
For sure, man. And it was weird, and then everything was like a Rolodex in my head that I do not have done.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just hit me, and then it went from that high, like I'm hunting Iowa, to like, oh, damn, I have a lot of crap to do, and I can be hunting Iowa in 2 months.
Yep.
And 2 months sounds like a long time, but with life now, I mean, you just don't have enough time.
No.
It seems like there's no time to do it.
No. I've been counting down to Utah for about 8 weeks, and I'm sitting exactly 2 weeks out right now. So it's
that came up fast.
It's pretty real, yeah. Yep. And you know, I do want to say, you know, talking about Utah real quick. I mentioned, I think on the last, well, not the last podcast, but I guess it would be episode 71, I think, that I got my string in, my ABB string, and I got that put on the other day, and had a little shoot off with Cooper just for the sake of sending some arrows downrange once I got the string mounted, and I was shocked. A platinum series string from ABB, and my 50-yard pin, you know, the pin I had zeroed for 50 with the factory string on my Halon, ended up zeroing out at 70 yards without having to move it. Like a new string for $100 got me an extra 20 yards.
That's crazy.
With the same arrow, same fletching setup, like same draw weight, every single thing the same except for the string.
It's funny you say that because Keegan came into the office the other day and he's like, dude, I just put my platinum string on because he got an ABB platinum and he did the red, white, and blue colors and everything. And he's like, I got 17 plus yards out of it and I didn't change a thing. He's like, I just added another pin. And I'm like, holy cow, like I didn't even think about it. And I have not sighted my bow in yet just because I just got my Garmin sight and I just bolted it on the bow the other day. So I haven't gotten that. So I'm interested to see, you know, how much I gain out of it. But he said, yeah, like plus 17 yards. And I'm like, man, that's crazy. But, you know, talking to Bryant back, you know, whenever, I can't remember when it was when I was talking to him. And I think it was just on the phone one day. He was saying that, like, you're going to get better yardage and more efficiency, I guess that might be the word, for, you know, this with this string. And, you know, it's kind of hard to believe, but when you have a couple guys telling you the same thing, I mean, you kind of got to believe it, I would think.
Yeah. No, what I'm excited about is that I went from 50 to 70. My bottom pin was set for 50 with the factory string. Without touching anything, it turned into a 70-yard pin. Now, that's with an FMJ, okay, with a 100-grain head on it. I went, like I said the last time we talked, I went to Axis. So I'm going 100% carbon, still 5 millimeter, but it's like 9.2 grains per inch instead of 11.7 or whatever the FMJ is. So I'm already shooting 20 yards further than I was, and now I'm shooting a lighter arrow. So if you remember, we talked about the reason I wanted to do that, because my sight it's a React Pro 5 from Trophy Ridge, and I mean they all the bottom 4 pins they kind of move apart like all at the same time, but at different distances. Like it's mathematically impossible to miss if you're zeroed at 20 and then you set your second pin to 30. And then they all, like I said, they all move simultaneously, so they should already be set for 40, 50, and 60. Or 20, 30.
Right.
Yeah, 40, 50, 60. And
Yep.
So I'm going to a lighter arrow. Now I'm going to be able to move those pins back up. I don't have a 70 or an 80-yard pin. I'm going to rely on that bottom pin to be the one I have to know how to hold over. So the higher I can get that bottom pin, the further I know I can shoot. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
I'm not going to run out of room in my peep sight or look for a place to hold my pin outside of the housing. You know what I mean? So, it was nice to see that happen, because that's the whole reason I went to the Axis and I spent the money on new arrows and, a new setup like that. And it's going to pay off for me. I just got to get out there and figure out what those distances are going to be.
Yeah, that's exciting, because you're going on this hunt and you're going to be more than likely probably taking a shot over 50 yards or more. 50, 60 yards. Like that's a realistic possibility.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like I said, I had that shoot off with Cooper, and I sent you the picture. I took a piece of paper money, American paper money. I won't say how much it was, but I folded it in half, and I put it out there on the target, like 6 inches from the top of the target. So like neither one of us could have a reference. Like we both had to hold over the top of the target. So it was like whoever breaks paper gets to keep the bill, and if whoever touches paper first, it's yours. And he was like, "All right, deal." And then next thing you know, his uncle's in on it, his cousin's in on it, and there was like 5 of us shooting at an unknown distance. It turned out after I hit it, it was 74 yards, but like I said, I ended up hitting it, but it was just funny to watch it turn into a little shoot off on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, you're 2 weeks out from your hunt, right?
Yep.
You're 14 days, 15 days, somewhere right around there. I mean, do you have everything dialed, ready to go, or are we still scrambling?
I wouldn't say I'm scrambling. I got to re-zero that sight. I need to shoot those new arrows. But like I said, with that sight, you zero the whole sight with the top pin as a 20-yard pin by using the elevation adjustments on the sight housing. You set 20, and that's like the reference point, and then you move back to 30, and then you start using the reactor adjustment to get that second pin to fall at 30. And then once you're zeroed at 30, you're good all the way out until your last pin. Like you can go straight back to 60 or 70 and hold right on, and you'll be good. So that
React technology is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know if you'd call it a good thing or a bad thing, but the tedious part about it is that sight requires very good shooting in order to maintain accuracy at those longer distances. Because if you're off by 1.5 inches at 30, extrapolate that back to 50 or 60 yards, while the arrow decreases velocity and trajectory increases, you could be a foot off, So you've got to be dead nuts at 30 yards in order for that stuff to maintain the way you want it to. But
right.
Outside of the bow and the equipment, I feel pretty good, because I went out there last year and I filmed Cooper's hunt, and I got by just fine with everything I had, and I've got a little bit more gear this year. I got a new pack because I got for that bear hunt, and I got a new pair of boots on the way. I know we touched on that a few episodes back. I ended up ordering a pair of Crispies. And I got a sleeping pad for my tent. That's about all I bought extra to take out there. I mean,
So you're pretty much good to go then.
yeah, I think so. Me and Cooper have just been talking about, the departure dates and how long we're going to stay, and, looking at maps and, looking at old footage and seeing where bucks came from last year and what they're going to, where the water was. And we're going to get out there a couple of days early and try to get about a day and a half worth of scouting in, check on those water sources. And so the season opens on the 17th. Our plan is to leave Iowa on the 14th, pull into Salt Lake on the 15th, mid-morning or midday, kind of gather ourselves and then head up the mountain the afternoon of the 15th, camp up there, glass the 15th, and then camp up there that night, and then have all day, sunrise and all day on the 16th to watch what happens throughout the course of the day, and then at least have a little bit of a game plan going into the 17th. So just try to put some more of the odds in our favor, because last year it was just a last minute, Utah starts tomorrow, I got a tag. I'm like, why aren't we out there? He's like, well, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah. So it was just a throw some cameras in the bag and camo, and pack the truck and let's go. Last minute deal. But I don't know. We learned a lot last year for sure, and kind of we had a beat on a few bucks out there and it's all public ground. So I mean, it's anybody's game. But had a couple stalks that got blown by people that were driving in at prime time or riding up on their razors or dirt bikes and just blowing the mountain up. So we're going to try to beat them to it this year and just get it over with early.
Heck yeah, man. It's going to be an exciting hunt. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah. What about you? I know you had some blinds you were painting or building, or I don't know. I see Snapchats and sometimes I don't know what's going on over there or up there.
I don't either, man. I feel like I get about an hour a day to possibly to do something. So when I do, it's like, all right, I got to run and do this. I got to run and do that. I got to hurry up and do this, you know, and it's just busy. The summer is already basically gone. So, I mean, a while ago on a couple podcasts, I can't remember which one it was, but, this year for the 1 acre farm, I was going to start hunting out of box blinds, as much as I could for a couple different reasons. For access, different winds that I'll be able to hunt them on, and getting into some areas where there's no trees no good trees to put a stand in. So I'm just trying to maximize what I got going on there. So, bought all the lumber I went and purchased the blind, and we have some Amish around here that build really nice blinds and got all bow windows in it. And, so I got that painted a while ago, and now I went and got some lumber, and I'm building a platform, and I'm almost done with it this week, and I'm hoping to get that wrapped up, and then either next week or the weekend, I'm hoping to get the blind out. I'm already past my deadline. I want to be out of the woods by August 1st, but if I can get this done, it'll be beneficial, and it'll be all good to go. So that's my biggest thing. Like I said earlier, I got the Garmin. The site is badass, but when you look at the instructions, it's very intimidating to try to set this up.
Yeah,
just by looking at the instructions. So I haven't, dove into it, but that is like, priority number one that I even said on last podcast. I think that I need to get done here soon. Because I mean, Kansas, I drew Kansas this year too, and I can be hunting on the 16th of September. So what is that, like almost, 40 or 30 some or 40 some days? I mean, I could be hunting whitetails. So, that's there too. But I mean, my priority number one is I've got Rival I'm editing right now. So I'm hoping to be done with that by September 1-ish or the first week of September. So then I've got the rest of the fall just to hunt and, get content with Chris and Casey for, Rival Wild and everything. So that's kind of where I'm going right now. Actually, I'm looking at Chris's bow right now. I've got 2 of his bows that he wants me to put together. I'm putting new ABBs on those, Platinum Series. So, And this weekend, that's going to be the project. This weekend is getting those bows all dialed in for him. I did Jason's bow last weekend, and I'm just becoming the bow tech, man. I dove into this full force about a year ago, and now I love doing it. It's so much fun. I come down to the man cave here at night, and I go to town, man, and zone in, and it's something really cool. I've learned a lot, and it's crazy. It's you and I've talked about it being on a producer side. When you're a filmer and an editor, it makes you better at both. So diving into building bows and tuning them and learning the ins and outs of bows makes me a better shot almost. You know what I mean? Or more efficient with my bow.
You understand the
the
mechanics of the whole system now better than you did before.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what's so cool about it. And now I know too. I mean, if I have a bow press near me, if I'm anywhere and somebody needs help, on a trip or something, short of a peep sight or needing a bow press, I can do just about whatever on that bow with, the tools I have if I don't have a bow press, and I actually have a little tool that you don't need a bow press for if a peep comes out and you need to put a new peep in.
Yep.
I have a tool that you can put a peep in without using a press. So I can basically do just about anything other than, paper tuning or yoke tuning or, twisting cables and stuff like that. I can do a lot of stuff. So that's cool. And knowing you have that in your back pocket and you'll never forget that is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I mean, I think that's something I could really dive into. I have two bows. I do have one Hoyt and one Matthews, but it's I don't know. It's not that I don't want to learn it. I just don't know if I have time to try to pick it up right now and give it the attention that I would like to.
Right.
But,
well, right now with what you got going on, I think it might be a little tough, but knowing you and the type of guy you are, you're a lot like me when it comes to that. I think when you pick it up and you go buy yourself a press and get yourself the tools, it's something addicting. It's so addicting. And once you get into it and you dive, if you just get your feet wet, it's okay, now you're up to your waist and you're farther. You're I want to learn more. I want to learn more.
It's kind of how I've gotten with, I've only just started fletching my own arrows, this past season, the fall of 2018. And now it's I'm sitting on 6 and about 400 fletchings with different color wraps and different inserts and just building arrows like crazy just because I have them. I don't need to build 4 dozen arrows, but it's I've got them at my disposal, and I do enjoy that. I need to
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. So.
Well, and this year I dove in a little farther with the arrow building, and you kind of got me into that, but with the new inserts, when you typically get a HIT or a hit insert from an Easton, it's usually right around 16 grains.
Yep.
That's the normal insert
aluminum
weight that you get with your arrows. Yeah,
yep.
The aluminum ones. Well, this year I went with the 50, 75 breaks, and I just kept the 75 grains on there because I wanted to get my FOC up.
You
and
put
my
all
FOC
75
is right
in?
at 12. I did.
Oh, I thought you only went 50.
I was going to do 50, but then I went the 5mm, axis that were only 9.6, and I wanted my arrow weight up a little bit higher, and I wanted my FOC. I got my FOC up to 12%.
Nice.
So, and typically you want to get anywhere from 10 to 15%, so I'm right in the middle.
Nice.
So
Very
I'm
nice.
rolling with a 470 grain arrow now, and I'm excited about it. And it's cool. I did it all myself, cut my own arrows, fletched them all, did my inserts myself, although 3 of the arrows got ruined in the shipping process, which sucks. So.
Yeah, 4 of mine did too. Out of the first dozen I opened, 4 of them were jacked.
Not happy about that when you pay for arrows like that.
Yeah, I'll have to call somebody up at Easton.
Yep.
I went the same route with the brass, except I went with the 50s. I broke them off and I put 50s in, and I used the epoxy instead of the hot melt. So they're in there for good. There's no coming out. There's no rotating. And man, I want to try to see if I can order some ballistic gel, because I just want to see just how much penetration there's going to be. because I'm going to run
Right.
that 1.5 inch sever. Like, we talked to Clint a couple weeks ago, and I've got a pile of 1.5 inch severs, and I got this new arrow set up. I got a new string, and I'm itching to watch that fletching disappear into the side of an elk in another month and a half. And I can't wait to watch it go through something. I want to order some gel, and I want to set it up and do it.
We got some gel, and this will be the last thing I say here because we're getting lengthy on this intro, but we got some gel to do some testing with at the studio, and I think you can get them for like $100 a piece. The ones we got, but I'm sure you could probably get a little cheaper ones, but they work out pretty darn good, and they're pretty cool to play around with.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it, I think. I'm too impatient.
Yep. You're an impulse guy too.
Yeah, I kind of.
You're like, yeah, I'm gonna swipe the card on that one.
If I can find him on sale, it's over.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good deal, man. Let's get over this interview. We got Josh Sparks on from the editor of Chasing November from Midwest Whitetail. So
yep.
Let's get him on there, and let's let that interview take over. All right, on the phone today with us is Josh Sparks. Josh, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Good. It's hotter than balls over here in Michigan right now, and it's hard to get out and do anything. But season's coming around here soon, and I was just looking at, I got a countdown on my calendar right now for Kansas opener, so September 16th is coming quick, so I'm excited about that. But before we get too far into this, I'm going to cut Justin off there. But can you introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you got into this?
Yeah. So my name is Josh Sparks, and from Iowa, eastern Iowa area. As far as getting into this, I think we're talking about editing and being a producer.
Yeah, the industry,
yeah.
Producer, whatever.
Yeah, the story's kind of weird. I actually met Jared Mills with Midwest Whitetail. It would have been my freshman year of college. And at that time, I was a super big fan of the show. Had never picked up a camera, sat in front of a computer, and then basically just begged him to let me watch what he was doing. And kind of took off from there. So here we are, was it 4 years later, I think?
Yeah, because you started out editing a regional show, right?
Yeah, I wasn't even editing a regional show. It was like he would give me hunts. I'd try and put them together. He'd say they were, this is why they're not good.
Yeah.
And go from there.
Figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, no, I never grew up thinking I wanted to do this. I knew I wanted to do something that put me in the woods as much as possible. Yeah. And filming somebody else was the way that it started.
Yeah, it's kind of the same for me. Like I wanted to get into guiding, and I wanted to hunt as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And then I guided one hunt I guided more than one hunt, but the first hunt I guided for a show was with Aaron.
That's awesome.
It was like a light bulb, and now I've got a giant student loan bill that I guess down the line kind of got me where I'm at, but it's nowhere near the same thing I paid for.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty lucky. I actually ended up dropping out of school my senior year, so I have 2 semesters left to get a degree, but it was just too good of an opportunity to turn down. So
yeah, that's half the battle. Recognize the opportunity and take it.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, and a lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know too. And in this industry, if you know a lot of people or know the right people, you can get pretty far and be pretty successful and do what you're doing too. And
absolutely.
And I totally understand that as well. I went to school for television and digital media productions, and then I work alongside of 2 other guys that are doing basically the same thing I'm doing, but they're self-taught. So it's. But I will tell you, like when I started doing this, like just about almost 8 years ago, like you needed a degree to get yourself in the door at that time. Mm-hmm. It was just like the only option I had to do that. So it was, I didn't know the people, and then, the guys that I've been referring to is they came in 3 years ago. So the times have changed, from 8 years ago to 3 years ago, to where, there was more film schools being put on, and that's what they did. They came to our film school and really excelled, and we really liked them, and we had some openings. So then, they interviewed for the job, and we gave it to them. So
Yeah.
that really wasn't a big option when I was coming in. So that was kind of something I had to do. But things are evolving, and I bet you I would be bet to say that a lot of guys doing what we're doing nowadays haven't went to school for it, or they just know someone and got them in the right position. So, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's two different stories, two different ways right there, and just trying to meet the common goal. Now, we're talking about this thing that you're doing, and I didn't even introduce or say what you're doing, but you are one of the producers and editors for Chasing November for Midwest Whitetail, correct?
Yeah.
So you've been doing for that for 4 years, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, no, so I've done the last 2 seasons of Chasing November.
Okay.
I just started, my first time I ever opened a video project was about 4 years ago. That's when
I got you. Okay.
That journey began.
And you did last season of
Yep.
the Midwest
Season
Whitetail
3.
main show. So
Yep.
you've been doing Midwest Whitetail and Chasing November for 2 years in a row now.
Yep.
After having started for the first time on anything 4 years ago.
Yeah, no, there's a pretty quick progression.
It's
The first time that Jared and Bill asked me if that's what I wanted to do, I said yes. I shook my head, and deep down I was kind of just scared to death. I was like, there's no way I can do this.
it's like you skipped the minors and went right to the major league.
That's kind of how it felt.
It's
but
a lot of pressure.
Yeah, no, I just want it to be good, do justice for all the hard work that, not to get too far into it yet, but we have a really large staff of people that contribute to that as far as content goes, so you want to do a good job for them.
Yeah, and, speaking of, you guys have a lot of staff. I mean, how many people do you have on the Chasing November or Midwest Whitetail staff that you're pulling footage from? Do you have a number right offhand?
I mean, you're probably looking at 70 to 80, year-long storylines I'm looking through.
That's aggressive.
Not every
That's
single
aggressive.
one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into it when we talk about, where we start with Chasing November, but that's one of the hardest parts is, putting 80 people's stuff together into 24 episodes that make sense and are
Where
interesting.
there's multiple storylines running within each episode.
That's the thing, yeah. And to kind of relate to what you were saying there, I produced a show called Whitetail Fix. It's still on the air. I did the first season of it. It was back in 2013, I believe it was, something like that. Well, they had 11 guys on their team. And I'll tell you what, man, to have 11 guys to try to fit in storylines, and then you've got 11 different opinions saying, well, why didn't this make it, or why didn't this make it? And I'm only, in your sense, you can make it 25 minutes. You could probably make it 15 minutes if you want. You can make it 30 minutes. I'm at 23:45. I have to hit that
TV.
mark,
Yeah.
And we only have 12 original episodes. So there's stuff. I mean, there's times where I had to leave kills on the table because we didn't have any room for them. I mean, you had to pick, which ones are the better ones, which ones are the more produced ones, and what ones have more storylines. And dude, I get it, man. It was stressful. I think when I got done editing that series, I just went and laid down in the fetal position somewhere for a couple days because it was brutal, man. And when you
That's where I'm
say
at
70
right now.
different,
Yeah.
well, you just finished last week, so I mean, you're fresh right off it. I mean, what were you probably in front of or behind the computer for 5, 6, 7 months, somewhere around there?
Well, I started editing Chasing November February because the main show ends in early January and take a couple weeks to, refresh per se.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so starting in February and then all the way up until August 1st.
Man, yeah, so 6 months. That's crazy. And I mean, you pack on weight because you have no other choice. You're just eating and drinking pop, and I am anyway.
The amount
And you
of
just
coffee
like
that was consumed making
the
that
coffee
show.
you could. Yep. And I, recently found Mountain Optic Night that I basically should have an IV for it because it's just pumping it through my blood
Yeah.
just to stay awake
got-
sometimes.
I just ordered some of that myself yesterday or Tuesday.
What
Whole
flavor
site
did you
was
get?
20. I got the Hush Lemonade Ignite.
Oh, you would.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the whole site was 25% off until midnight, and every order that went in July entered you for that truck. So I hope you're not planning on winning that truck. 'Cause I am.
Well, I can tell you the pink lemonade is like crack. I mean, it is. The pink lemonade is where it's at. And I'm to the point now where I'm pretty sure I've had it so much that I'm immune to it. So I just drink it for the taste now.
Yeah,
So
it's like Josh and coffee.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically my water.
I think Josh lived on. He edited Chasing November on coffee and croutons. I bet. It's like that's Josh's snack. Like I said, potato chips, a bag of Texas toast croutons.
well, those are
tell
good though.
everybody
They
that.
are good. I recently, because I drink coffee pretty heavy too, and my go-to creamer is the French vanilla creamer, and I recently found out that your vehicle can run on that for oil. Basically, that's about the substance of it. So I need to really start cutting down on that. It's about
Drinking motor oil.
10W30 motor oil. It's basically what it is.
Crazy.
But yeah, so let's dive into it here. So you started editing Chasing November and the main show back in February. Now, what goes into that? Like, let's start from square one. Talking about getting all these other pro staff's storylines. So are you going through and ingesting the footage, and while you're doing that, you're trying to watch it and then establish storylines from there?
Yeah, so what I do, and I have, the benefit of editing the main show, so the 2017, 2018 season, you already know the main show storylines. You know what kills were, where they happened, what time of year. The hard part is getting into, so we have a regional show format too. I'm not sure if your listeners will be familiar with that. So there's main show covers all our staff in Iowa, and then we've got other regions across the country. That's those other 70 guys.
Okay.
So basically what I do there, I'd make a list of every kill that we had, regional and main show, what the dates were, and then if it makes the cut as far as quality or a lesson or some teaching point, I watch every single hunt, every clip from every person. Because the thing about Chasing November is you're wanting to tell the most clear, concise storyline. And so if you kind of just wing it, holy crap. Sorry.
The cat just jumped out of the rafters, right in front of Josh's face.
Oh my gosh.
Out of nowhere.
Jesus. That's why you can't trust cats, man. At one moment, they'll be purring on your lap. The next thing, they're ripping your face off. That's why I can't trust them. You can't trust them.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
But so, making that list of kills, going through every piece of footage, that's a very time consuming process. Because we talked about, there's 43 kills, I think, in Chasing November season 4.
Wow.
So, you can at least, trying to think where I was going with this. That cat threw me off.
No, you're good because, even with doing Rival Wild on my sense, and I'm going to try to compare this as you go, and I'm going to try to relate for everybody listening to kind of what I do as well. And I do a lot of the same thing. The thing that where I struggle with too is, I film Casey I all year. I don't film anybody else. And I take a journal every day, on what we do. But when I get back in the edit bay, all the other guys like Chris and Jason and, Lee or Adam that might be getting filmed, I know the bigger bullet points that they do, but I don't know they had an encounter with this deer that morning, two mornings in a row. I don't remember that. So doing what you're doing, I do the same thing. My first initial thing when I get in is I ingest the footage. I know like you're doing everything chronological order. I mean, if it happens, from day 1 to day 30, and that's what we're doing with Rival Wild as well. So I just go in there and I folder it out. And, the big thing when you're in the field for me is like the more organized you are, logging footage in the field, the more organized and easier it's going to be when you get back in the bay to edit.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I just try to keep it, really, that's the word I'm looking
Concise.
for. Concise and organized in the field, and it just makes it so much better. So, I was just editing a show this last week actually, and I needed a B storyline because I had an A storyline going, and I found that Chris had 2 encounters that I had no idea about, and it worked out perfect. But that's the bad thing about editing is you got to sit there and gouge your eyeballs out and watch every clip, and there's hundreds of clips,
Yeah, that's, you try to skip corners. You try to cut corners, that's what I'm going to say. But if you try to, guess what's there, long term, it's going to be a worse product.
right.
So.
And I just want to back up real quick. Like, before the cat dropped in Josh's face, he was explaining, the way that the footage comes in on the breakdown. I think the point you might have been trying to make was the fact that you're using the same footage for Chasing November that you use during the main show, like as things are coming out semi-live during the season. So to revert back to what he was trying to explain, he's already seen that footage and he's watched it all already, so he knows, he'll go back and look for those kills and then just timeline it on paper, kill by kill, in chronological order, just to have a reference, a place to start when it comes time to put those stories back together for Chasing November.
Yeah. Because, the thing about Chasing November, our main show and the regional shows, majority of it's just kills. You know what I mean? And then a little bit of strategy about what went into it. And, the semi-live format, as a viewer, you're watching it during hunting season. But Chasing November is a lot more in-depth. So we're every encounter, even just like, for example, your public land story. Your 2 hunts before leading up to your kill. Those are all super important, going into depth on why you chose a spot, giving some backstory on you moving into the deeper public land, then you killed that buck. Yeah. It just gives a better in-depth picture and just the whole story.
Right.
For sure.
Now, for one thing that I, because I watched Chasing November and everything, and, Bill self-narrates the whole episode. Well, not the whole episode, but he narrates you through the episode. So do you cut the episode, and then while you're cutting it, do you think of those VO points that you need, or is it easier for you to write a VO or have a good idea and have Bill cut it and then edit to that?
So Bill and I, basically what I'll do is I'll rough out all 24 episodes. We spent a lot of time together, writing those voiceovers. Because the thing is like, until you create episode 1 through 24, you don't really know what you're trying to connect. There's things in episode 2 that have something to do with episode 15.
Yep.
Basically what we'll do is I'll come in with bullet points because, we're always trying to keep something about a lesson and just something interesting, so if it's a grunting situation or calling or whatever, that's
Something
what the voiceover ties together. Yeah, educational, that's the word. Basically we just write them together, he records them, and then what I'll do is I'll put them back into the episode, and if I feel like something needs changed, or we just go back and record it. So it's not a high class operation. We just sit in his garage and have a microphone. So
I totally get where you're going with, because I rough every episode as well. And then when the good thing about a VO guy or a self-narrative guy is that times when storylines lack, from the field, that's when you can put the pieces together. And that's what I like about having that. Because we don't shoot spines anymore like we do journals from the field sometimes. But, when you're out in the field, like both you guys know, you produce and stuff like that, and sometimes you miss something and you get you get tied up and everything, and you might miss something. So back in the edit bay, if you've got a VO guy, I use them. I like using them as, like I said, tying up storylines or using them as transition pieces. You know, and I also like to use them as relative pieces. So I want my viewers to be like, man, you know, me and my best friend drag deer out and blood trail deer like that too. You know, I want them to feel like that, and you know, that's the time that I like writing it, to kind of get creative as well, to have people relate and like almost put them in the shoes of, you know, in my sense, Chris or Casey are there, you know, and that's what's cool about it for me. A lot of, you know, before, you know, years ago, you'd see VO saying, oh, you know, that buck, he's coming, you know, he came around the corner, and then two seconds later they'd show the buck. So you're almost like foreshadowing what's going to happen, and I wanted to stay away from that. I didn't want to like tell everybody what's going to happen then show them. I wanted it to be more unique and more creative, I guess. And what you guys do, and you know, and what you do with Chasing November, it's great because, and I'm going to guess it helps you out a ton, because you're probably not getting a lot of interviews, probably, I'm going to guess, from your staff. You're only probably getting in-tree interviews a majority of the time, so Bill is really tying those points together. And I like having the perspective of Bill there, because, I mean, I grew up watching Bill Winke, and that he's still one of the guys that I look up to, and I like hearing his opinions and his tactics. So that I really like that part about it.
Yeah, no, we're pretty lucky. You know, our team does a really good job. You know, we run a film school every August, and we kind of cover, you know, how do we need guys to be doing interviews? Because, you know, it's just that's a nice thing doing a semi-live. It's every day. You know, every day they're hunting, they're continuing their own story. So it makes it pretty easy on me from that standpoint.
What would be the biggest, in your opinion, when you're doing the semi-live, what is the biggest hurdle for you, being the editor, you know, and the producer for it? Like, what is, in the whole grand scheme of things, you know, you're getting footage just about every day, I'm going to guess. So what's the biggest hurdle for you?
That's a good question.
You know, I don't mean to give a super simple answer, but it's just doing it. You know, it's a grind to do it for 45 days. Like, you know, you hear this semi-live format, and you're like, oh, that's cool. I do that. Yeah. But to do it to a high level every single day after hunting, you know, because basically what a day in the fall looks like is go hunt in the morning, hunt in the evening, get home, edit, go to sleep, do it again.
Yeah. Not a lot of downtime.
There is none, you know, so it's just...
Unless you want to sacrifice hunting time, I mean...
Yeah, and I mean, the other part would be just organizing everything, making sure everything's backed up. You know, a semi-live show, it's hard to appreciate it when you're watching it as a viewer because it's just there, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of sleepless nights during the fall to produce it like that.
I get it, man. It's hard to appreciate, you know, anything that you're doing because you watch it so much. I mean, in a 23-minute episode that I'm editing for TV, I won't watch it on TV because I've watched it so many times.
I 100% get that.
Yeah. I think we've all been there. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I did Whitetail TV last year while you were doing the main show, and I mean,
nope.
I don't even know. There was 15 episodes maybe, I think. No, 11. I don't even remember at this point, but
yeah,
94% of them were all-nighters the night before they were due, getting uploaded at 7:45 a.m.
Yeah, no, because I mean, the other thing during the fall that we do is those daily video blogs. So I'm not just doing the main show, you know what I mean? It's whoever I'm with, like Owen Riegler last year, you know. I know we were kind of talking about earlier before we got on here about that October 12th hunt when I passed all those bucks. But, you know, you get home from a hunt, you edit the video blog, then you start working on the main show or something that go in that week's episode.
Now, so run me through the schedule of a semi-live show that you guys do. So, you know, let's say you hunt, you and everybody else, you know, when you know you're about ready to push the go button on a semi-live show. So I want to know the schedule of that. Like, when you start editing, or, okay, let's say this. When you start, whoever it is, starts hitting record for the first hunt that it's going to be in, let's say, episode 1, From that day, how many days is it until that episode is going live?
I mean, there's every Monday is when our show comes out. But you will see on the main show, the majority of the teams, you'll see it that night. Like I said, we get done hunting, get back to a computer, upload a video blog, it's live. And then, so everything you watch on the main show is within the last 6 days.
Okay, so
It kind of tiers up. So if you think about those regional teams like you mentioned earlier, that stuff's coming in daily. And those are going out on blogs. Same as everybody else's in Iowa. Owen, Bill.
What the regional shows, so we have like a weekly schedule. So there'd be a regional show that comes out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
And main show also comes out on Monday.
And then you'll pick from all those shows, the best hunts of the week on top of whatever's going on with Bill or whatever's going on top with Jared or you or Drake or anybody for that matter. And then that's what goes into the main show with some kind of a lesson.
Yeah, I mean,
so throughout the whole week, you're going to be editing these blogs that typically are probably getting finished edited Saturday or Sunday to go on the main show on Monday, correct?
yeah, I mean, the video blogs can be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, every time we go hunt, there's a blog on that hunt that night.
Right, but what I'm saying is you could be taking Monday's blog and or Tuesday's blog, and that could be part of next Monday's episode, though.
Yes. Yep.
So so it's not like you're getting all the footage in and like, well, you might be, but it's not like you're editing it all on a Sunday night. I mean, you've already touched the footage Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Honestly, typically that's what I do. Yeah, I mean, Sundays are pretty dedicated to that.
Yeah.
I mean, because the thing is you never know what you're going to get. So if you make a show on Monday and you're going to release it in 7 days, it's not going to be as current. It's not going to be as useful if you don't wait to make sure you have the most current information. So, like last year, it would have been our second hunting episode on Midwest Whitetail. I actually filmed a kill on a Sunday evening, went back to the office and edited the main show
With that kill in it.
It was
that was my next question. If somebody kills on Sunday night, is that going into Monday's episode or that'll be next Monday?
It really depends what the situation is. If they can, typically that's going to go in the next week, just because of logistical getting it to me.
Right.
Yep.
Unless it's somebody in house, like I'm guessing you're talking about Paige,
yeah,
that's
that
Owen's
youth kill.
daughter.
Yep.
So yeah, Josh filmed that hunt, and obviously had the control of it, and was able to come right back to the office that night and include it in that next show. It was going out the next day. But if it was somebody coming in like from a region, or somebody that was like living in eastern Iowa or elsewhere that would have taken too long, it would go in the following week.
Yep.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this, or one of the cool things to me anyway, is this whole show, when you put it together, is you, right? I mean, nobody else is touching this. Like, this is all edited by you. Graphics, sound, color, everything. So that's what's cool about it to me, because when I started editing, that was like, I do it all. Like, I can dabble in some After Effects, nothing aggressive, just like 2D kind of stuff, and but I can do it effectively enough now to where I can make my own stuff. And if not, I'm going to figure it out. But, when you watch a Rival episode, I'm roughing it, sound, color, everything. And right now I'm down to a 3-day edit for a 23-minute show, which is, for right now it's pretty moving. But I'm in mid-season form right now. Like I'm running with a pretty good gallop right now. So, but that first episode, that damn thing's a doozy, because that thing will take you 3 weeks. The first one always sucks.
You're just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks until it makes sense.
Exactly. And you'll sit there and like, God dang, that does not feel right. And it's like, well, I'm going to give it another day. Like, I'll see how I feel about it in the morning. You come in the morning, you're like, man, that's a good piece right there. And I'm like, I didn't touch anything, and I'd rather have somebody hang me out the window by my fingernails than that first episode. That's a hell of a.
Yep.
I hate that one.
No, I actually skipped episode 1, basically. I mean, I put together the kills that went in it, and Chasing November.
Yep.
But as far as that intro, I probably didn't complete that until I was like on episode 22, 23. Just because it's like you don't really know what the best way to do it is until you have the series in front of you.
I mean, I do that on a single episode a lot of times. Like, take away that pressure of
Exactly.
opening up. Like, start with a kill and go backwards. And then you have all that stuff to work with, and then put your closer in there, and it flies.
Yeah,
compared to
exactly.
trying to scratch your way through it, start to finish, in chronological order.
Yeah, and it's especially important with Chasing November because as a viewer, if the opener sucks, you're not going to watch anything else.
Right.
That's, to me, it's the most important part of the entire series is episode 1.
Yep. And that's one of the questions that a lot of people ask me about, like, how do you edit a show? And it's kind of hard for me to answer that because I do every episode different. I mean, episode 1 was a kill. And like Justin said, if there's a kill, I know it's going to be in segment 3, more than likely. I'm going to segment 3, and I'm editing that kill. Segment 4 is usually going to be recovery, reflect, that kind of stuff, and recap. So I'm doing those two segments first. And usually I can get those roughed in a day and pretty solid. Like, I can get those, everything but graphics, like sound, everything, like pretty dialed. So then you're coming out of Monday and you're like, man, I had a hell of a day. Like, let's keep that momentum going. And then Tuesday you roll in, and usually my segment 2 in just about any show, segment 2 is usually my pain in the ass. Like, it just, for some reason I struggle with it, and it's a lot of the times is because you're trying to find the story. In my sense, story B is where 2 is going to take form and be that prominent, because you're trying to transition from your intro in your segment 1, which is going to be like setting up what could be a kill or setting up story A. So then it's like, because you usually have multiple guys, so I go from A to B, and then you kind of put B to rest unless it works into segment 3 a little bit, but that's going to be the kill. So it's a struggle. But I've edited episodes where I started right in segment 1 and just went to segment 4, or you start with the last one and then you go to the first one and then you fill in the meat and taters in the middle. So it's all depends on how I feel that day.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. How do you edit something?
Yeah. And you and I have had this conversation a lot in the past. Like, for me, like, I have to believe in what I'm doing. Like, I've got to feel it. Like, I think it comes through if somebody just sits down and puts it together to make it look like it's something presentable. But you can sit down and watch something else like Chasing November that's obviously got emotion in it, and you can tell there's effort behind it, and you can tell someone gives a crap about what they're doing. It's not just turn and burn and get it out, And I mean, there's times where that's the only choice we have, and it's just the way things have to get done sometimes. But if you watch and compare those things, you could probably sit there and look at what somebody actually felt like they wanted to do versus what they had to do just to get it done on time.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, we've got a really good group, and I'm talking about everybody, all the regional guys. I mean, it's really hard to put into words how hard everybody works just to get the content, what I mean, like I said earlier. So just really want to do a good job for all those guys.
Yeah, and you're kind of at the mercy of all those other guys in the field, trying to get you content and get it to you in an organized fashion so you can start moving around, cutting it and putting it together. And so that's the shitty part, when it comes to your side, because it's like you're just at the mercy of them, and hopefully they're going to come through for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to have a relationship with those guys of, if you need something from me right now, I'm going to do it for you because, I'm at some point going to need that same favor. So,
right, for sure.
Work hard for those guys, and they work hard for me.
Yep. So now, what's your schedule right now? I mean, you just wrapped up Chasing November, so you're gonna just go like out to Vegas and just party for the next couple months, or are you gonna, or you got some more stuff to edit?
He's leaving tonight.
Yep, exactly.
Cheap flights, get out there.
No, I'm actually spending as much time at night now trying to get summer-related content because, I mean, Midwest Whitetail's main show is 15 days away. So
yeah, today it's Friday. We're recording today. It's the
okay, yeah,
second.
My bad.
Today's the 2nd, and it goes out on the 15th.
I think it's the 7th. Something. Either way, it's coming up in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get as much velvet content, and I crashed my drone the other day, trying to get a shot. I actually didn't crash it. It landed in the air, so it was still flying. But
it was like a little nest up in a tree, like it just fell into the little.
Oh man, I smacked that branch square.
The Robins
we got
are
the
using
shot.
it now.
No, he got it back. And he,
You did?
And he, yeah.
No, actually, I've crashed my drone twice.
Oh, okay. So
I've crashed. Okay, you're talking about another time. Yeah, I've crashed my drone twice in the last week and a half.
That is a bad day, man. I'll tell you what. I've crashed like 6 drones, okay, in the last 7 years. And for one reason or another. And we started with these darn stupid Phantom 1s, and they had a mind of their own. You'd get them up 10 foot, and they'd just go right into the ground. And they just, like, blow up. You know, I've crashed probably more of them, but now with the Mavics and the Inspires and stuff like that, those things are really nice to fly. But anyway, I flew one so far that I'm pretty sure it's probably in Iowa somewhere right now. And
It just
can't
kept
find
going.
you kept going. But I'll tell you what, when you crash one, for me anyway, I am done the rest of the day. Don't talk to me.
It's a sick feeling,
I'm a piece of shit if I crash one.
Yeah, no, I mean, this second time, it was just one of those, because like the shot that I was trying to get, you have to fly at full speed through a really small hole. It looks really cool.
Yeah, it does look good.
You know what I mean? But when you realize it's too late, you've already hit it, and you're screwed.
Wait a second. I got a question. I got to go back. So in Chasing November's intro, there's a really cool drone shot that looks like the blade clips the oak tree. Is that yours?
Oh yeah.
It was his shot. Bill's drone.
I bought my own. I bought my own drone recently.
When I saw that, I'm like, holy crap. I'm watching it for the first time. I'm like, ho, 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 and he's getting close, and it just goes. I'm like, I know that drone's in the drink after that.
It's like when you're driving down the highway and, like, a giant bug comes at the windshield, but, like, you can see it coming, but you're just, like, you don't register. And all of a sudden,
you
like,
connect
last second,
the eyes
like,
with it.
You try to, like, move your head out of the way, but it's the windshield, and you're like, dumbass.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that was pretty close to that tree.
I remember the day you got that shot. You were like, hey, you got to watch this.
So
no, that's a fun thing, man. Creating
for this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
No, I was just saying it's one of the fun things about our job is trying things that aren't smart to get a cool shot.
No, I agree.
Usually the risk is worth the reward if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Otherwise, you did what he said.
Yeah.
And just cry for the rest of the day.
Leave me alone.
But it's usually high. It's high risk, high reward. It's usually that.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
So I mean, coming up, we're in August now. Season's going to be starting here soon. Like you said, you're filming starting to get assets for, this next season. Now, are you going to be changing anything as far as, how you're getting content from your staffers or how you're going to be putting anything together? I mean, do you find different ways to do things while you're editing? It's like, man, I really got to fix this process of it, and I'm going to try to implement something.
Honestly, things are going to be pretty similar to last year. We'll have the video blogs running every day. Regional shows will be being produced, and then the main show. The nice thing about the way our show is structured is it's always based around hunting and the lessons that whatever happened that week. It's pretty easy to create a show as far as, new ideas because something different happens every time you go to the tree.
From somebody, somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think one of the coolest things that I saw, coming into this job a year and a half ago was the way, like, the stories evolve based on the way the regions are laid out, because you have seasons that start and end at different times. So you've got, you could have velvet content coming in, from Tennessee or Kentucky like legally for the first time as of last year in August. You know, you could potentially be putting kill footage out the first week of September. You know, let alone if you know, a lot of the guys travel. Like I know we had a couple of guys went to Wyoming last year out of the Great Lakes region. So Cooper had some stuff to work with, you know, in mid-September.
Yep.
When we're still out here waiting on opening day, you know, checking trail cameras and talking about scouting and access. So it's kind of it's just a cool dynamic to be able to have that kind of a reach and bring those different seasons into one place.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a really cool system. I mean, it's hard. It'd be hard to replicate. It'd be impossible without, like I said in the beginning, everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah, it's you guys got a well-oiled machine over there, man, because it's, like you said, and I'm sure it didn't, you know, click on all cylinders when it first started happening, too. I mean, it would take time to find the groove and find the niche and take it from there. I think it's so cool that, you know, every 5-6 days you guys are putting out an episode, really, you know, throughout the whole year. Like, that's what's unique to me. And like you said, you know, people like to see that semi-live, like, what's happening right now, or, you know, within a week's time, basically, like what's going on. And to get a kill one night and then have it out live the next morning, that's pretty tough, man.
Yeah, no, I mean it's I've always, when I think about it, you know, Midwest Whitetail was 4 years ago the show I watched every day. You know, I was just like every person that watches it now. You know, I never had TV growing up, so I never got to watch the Outdoor Channel or any of that other stuff. And back in 2008, I found Midwest Whitetail. You know, I was like 12 years old or something.
And it was free then?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just...
Never changed.
You know, those guys, you know, Bill, Jared, Aaron, Greg, you know, they created something pretty cool that I've had you know, the people I've got to learn from is one of the biggest blessings as far as where I'm at editing in our careers. So
for sure. Well, cool, man. I mean, I think it's awesome that, you know, we got you on here to talk about this, because I like to hear the digital side of things as well. Like I said, I'm just dipping my toes into it. I've been doing the TV thing for a long time, and we're going to start doing some digital stuff. And I like to hear stuff from guys like yourself and pick your brain about it. So that's really cool. I don't really have anything else. Justin, you got anything in closing on this?
I think if I had to kind of put a blanket over it all, it would be to the viewers and just, you know, a lot of the comments we see every year. I mean, I've already seen it this year. People are disappointed because they've already seen this footage come out during the season. And for people that have that make that observation, I will call it, you know, keep an open mind to what it takes to essentially reproduce something like this. And I don't mean reproduce like in the physical sense. I mean from the production standpoint. Like, realize we're taking footage that's already been used, yes, but we're giving it more of a 50-foot view versus a 1,000-foot view.
You know, my thing is, any person that says that hasn't watched the episode.
Right.
I mean, that's because it's not even
kill in the main show versus that same.
Yeah,
kill
it's not even close.
November. It's not even close to the same production level. You know, it's a different style.
Chasing November is a very dramatic, chronological, educational series.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't fit those types of things in, you know, this hunt in Missouri connecting to the hunt that's going on at the same time in Tennessee. You can't do that, you know, in the semi-live format that we were doing. I mean, for anybody out there that, you know, sees that initially, definitely do give it a chance, because right away you'll see it's not even the same thing.
And I mean, we just talked about, you know, here for 45 minutes about the fact that it's taken you 6 months to do this after you've already done it for 15 weeks straight. Like, you went 15 weeks straight from October until ATA. Literally, like, I think you were editing something like the day before you went to ATA. Mm-hmm. So you had 2 weeks off maybe after the Deer Classic, and then you were right back in.
Yep. You
were right back in the Chase in November, like revisiting all that same footage up until 3 days ago.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's if you have a problem with the fact that you're seeing the same footage, like, think about how much time it took to actually dive into those stories and actually put that emotion into the whole series. Mm-hmm. You know, there's more to it than people think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, it's cool to hear from other guys that are doing, relatively the same thing, and I just like to hear how they do it, and, the behind-the-scenes stuff, that's what I really like. So, again, I want to thank you for coming on, man, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and now you can breathe a little bit before you have to start filming here and editing again for the season. So
yeah, no, I really do appreciate you guys letting me come on and talk about it. The company I work for, 41 North Media, there's a lot of work that goes into producing hunting shows. So,
for sure,
one thing we didn't talk about is where you can find Chasing November Season 4. Right now, you can find it on Realtree 365. And one thing I wanted to talk about too, we've been getting lit up about it not being on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to say about that, Realtree 365 was created as a spot for content to always have a home, hunting content.
Right.
Because as I'm sure you guys have seen, YouTube is putting more and more restrictions on what you can show or what you can use in descriptions or that type of stuff. And, eventually I would envision it just being harder and harder. So we decided that was the best way,
just give it a new home.
Just give it a new home, one that's never going to be regulated and will always be available for the viewers.
And is it still free?
Yeah.
Yep.
100%.
So nothing's changed on that end of things. It's going to live in a different place.
Yep. So
awesome, boys.
That's all I got.
Cool. Josh, again, thanks for coming on, man, and good luck this fall. Hopefully you knock down a big one and edit your butt off.
Yeah, well, one of those things is definitely going to happen. I don't know about the other.
Won't say which.
Yeah, exactly. No, I appreciate it, guys. Really do.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Natural